We have some breaking news. Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband has been attacked in his home, in their home. Dana Bash is back with us now to tell us what we know about this, Dana.
Horrifying. What we know is a statement from Speaker Pelosi's office explains some of the details. Here's what it says. Early this morning, an assailant broke into the Pelosi residence in San Francisco and violently assaulted Mr. Pelosi. The assailant is in custody and the motivation for the attack is under investigation.
Maybe it's time these politicians in Washington stop focusing on taking firearms away from law-abiding citizens and figure out ways to keep violent criminals behind bars where they belong. Before I start, I just want to say this. Regardless of your political affiliation, Republican, Democrat, Independent, and regardless of the way you feel about certain politicians, like them or not, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to talk about what you dislike about them or like about them. But you do not have the right to break into someone's home and violently attack someone for whatever reason. Especially an 82-year-old man. No one deserves this. This should never happen in our country today, and it needs to stop, and these violent criminals need to be dealt with. And I do hope that Paul Pelosi makes a full recovery. And yes, I've done episodes about him, Big Paulie with the DUI. That has nothing to do with this episode and this subject matter. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and no one deserves to be attacked the way Paul Pelosi was attacked in his own home by a violent criminal.
Okay, good morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Chief Bill Scott with the San Francisco Police Department. At approximately 2:27 this morning, San Francisco police officers were dispatched to the residence of Speaker Nancy Pelosi regarding an A-priority well-being check. When the officers arrived on scene, they encountered an adult male and Mr. Pelosi's husband, Paul. Our officers observed Mr. Pelosi and the suspect both holding a hammer. The suspect pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently assaulted him with it. Our officers immediately tackled the suspect, disarmed him, took him into custody, requested emergency backup, and rendered medical aid. The suspect has been identified as 42-year-old David DePepe. Mr. Pelosi and Mr. DePepe were transported to a local hospital for treatment. This is an active investigation currently being led by the San Francisco Police Department Special Investigations Division. We are working closely with our partners from the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Capitol Police, and our district attorney here in San Francisco County, DA Brooke Jenkins and her team. The motive for this attack is still being determined. Mr. DePepe will be booked at the San Francisco County Jail on the following charges: attempted homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary, and several other additional felonies. Before I go any further, I'd like to thank the responding officers for their swift action this morning. Those San Francisco police officers are Officer Colby Wilmus, Officer Kyle Cagney, and Sergeant Edmund Hoyne.
So I'm pretty sure everyone already knows about this, but approximately 2:30 this morning, San Francisco police were dispatched to Nancy Pelosi's home for a well-being check. When they arrived, they witnessed Paul Pelosi in a struggle with an unidentified male, and they seemed to be holding a hammer. This suspect ended up taking the hammer and beating Pelosi with it, injuring him very, very badly from what I read. The suspect was arrested. They were both taken to the hospital, and last I saw, Paul Pelosi was being treated for really bad injuries. And I do hope that he does make a full recovery, because it's 2022, and an attack like this should never happen in the United States of America. This is not a third world country. People should feel safe being in their home alone or with their family, morning, noon, or night. They should not have to worry about some violent criminal breaking in their home for whatever reason, for whatever their motivation is. This, I think, is because the weak on crime policies of politicians and district attorneys or attorneys general all over this country. They're bowing down to activist groups who are saying that there are too many people in prison. Bail is too high. We want low cash bail. We want no bail. We want sentence reductions. And they're letting it happen. They're letting violent criminals back on the street to do what? Commit more violent crimes. It seems that congressional leaders are too focused on taking firearms away from law-abiding citizens instead of passing legislation that makes sure violent criminals get locked up for a long time. If I had my say in it, they'd be locked up for life, because there is no rehabilitation for someone who would commit such a horrific act like it was committed this morning against Paul Pelosi. No matter what you think about Nancy Pelosi, her politics, this kind of shit needs to stop. The anti-police, defund the police politicians in this country should wake up now and see what they're doing is doing nothing but giving criminals the green light to continue doing what they do. Rob, steal, rape, murder. That's what they do. And they're not being held accountable for it. Judges are letting people out of jail for committing violent crimes because they're going to take a chance on them. I'm rooting for you. And then the criminals are walking out saying, you're a chump, because I'm going back and do exactly what I was doing before I came here in handcuffs. And they all get rearrested for another violent crime. The political climate we have, especially right now, leading up to the midterms, is Republicans are bad, Democrats are bad, Republicans are extremists. What the hell is going on here? And why do these anti-police politicians still insist on talking about this? Defund the police. Police are your enemy. We need to give everything away for free. The criminals deserve a chance. No, they don't. In my opinion, I've seen it firsthand, personally, all too many times. People are getting arrested for violent crimes and being sent to jail to only be let out on a sentence reduction or a low surety bail. And what happens? Give it a few weeks, give it a few months. Here they come again, back in handcuffs, because they don't belong on the street. These attacks happen to everyone in every city and town, in every state in our country. It seems that no one is safe in their own home. I would have to imagine that if Paul Pelosi had a gun, he should have shot and killed this fucking guy, in my opinion. Obviously, he didn't have a gun. I'm pretty sure he's allowed to carry one, being who his wife is. And also, we all know that they have armed security, but where were they? How did this person break into this home in the middle of the night and attack him like he did without any alarms going off? How did this happen? And why did the police receive a call for a well-being check and not a burglary in progress? Of course, there's an investigation going on, and we only got the little information that I showed you from the police chief. But this should not happen today. This should not happen. But it's not the first time that Pelosi's house was targeted. In 2021, it was vandalized with graffiti, where whoever did it spray painted on their garages 2K with a line through it, cancel rent, we want everything. Did they catch them people? As far as I know, they didn't. Yeah, it's just graffiti, but that's not the point. This happens all over the place all the time. But all you hear from politicians on both sides of the aisle is police are bad, police are no good, we got to put money into social services. It's not going to work. It never worked. It never will work. What these politicians need to do is get together for once and pass comprehensive legislation that puts millions and millions of dollars into public safety in every state in this country to hire as many police officers as they can, because that's what this country needs. Because the criminals aren't going away. And we all know no matter how many cops are on the street, they can't be everywhere. But the more police you put on the street, these nitwit criminals just might think, oh shit, they just hired another 100 cops, they're everywhere. They may think twice before they attack somebody in a subway or stab somebody in a bar or carjack somebody. They may think twice before they do it. So instead of being weak on crime, they need to be tough on crime, and they need to allow law-abiding citizens to own firearms and concealed carry, because that's needed. Because I'm pretty sure they're not going to put millions of dollars into public safety. They're never going to stop saying police are bad because they have to bow down to these groups who hate the police, and that's how they get votes. I don't know the motivation behind this attack, obviously, and I would hate to think that it was politically motivated. But if it was, this shit needs to stop, and people just need to figure out a way to get together and do what's right for the citizens of our country. You should not be in fear to go out at night, to go for a walk, or to be in your own home and worry about being burglarized or attacked. Congressional leaders need to open their eyes and start doing something about this instead of spewing their hate for police officers because of the few bad ones that there are in every police department in this country. But I have to read you this quote from Gavin Newsom. We all know he's the governor of California, and we all know he's one of the biggest liberals out there. He made a quote about this attack, and I'm going to read it to you. California Governor Gavin Newsom releases a statement about the attack on Friday, and I quote, "This heinous assault is yet another example of the dangerous consequences of the divisive and hateful rhetoric that is putting lives at risk and undermining our very democracy and democratic institutions. Those who are using their platforms to incite violence must be held accountable. Our leaders should never be in fear for their safety or the safety of their families at their homes, not at the U.S. Capitol, not anywhere." Him and his wife are sending prayers to Paul Pelosi, end quote. Now, what I read out of that is he's pointing the finger at the big insurrection on January 6th. He is basically saying some politicians are extremists and they're inciting violence on their platforms. But what bothered me the most is that our leaders, he said, our leaders should not be in fear of being attacked in their home, at their work, or whatever. What about the average, everyday citizen? Why should they be in fear of being attacked at home, on the street, or at their place of business? Why is it just our leaders? It seems to me our leaders are failing us. They're not doing anything to stop the violent crime. They're the ones who want criminals on the streets. And this is probably one of the reasons that Paul Pelosi was viciously attacked, doing nothing but being in his own home. So I think Gavin Newsom needs to rethink that statement and put it back out there, saying that he cares about the people, because apparently he doesn't. He only cares about himself and his political aspirations, of course, because we all know he thinks he's going to be president someday. But that remark that our leaders should not be in fear is one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard a politician say. It basically tells you that Gavin Newsom does not give a shit about the average, everyday person. All he cares about is the leaders of our country. And the leaders of our country are failing us. And they're continuing to fail us. And if things don't change, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. I know we're in trouble now, but it's not going to get better. This political bickering bullshit needs to stop. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. Everyone is entitled to not like a politician for whatever reason, and they're entitled to like them as well. But attacking a powerful person's husband in their home should not ever, ever happen in this country. And these politicians need to wake up and start doing something about violent criminals, because this shit is never going to end until they do. So again, I do hope Paul Pelosi recovers. I do not condone attacks on anyone for any reason, never mind an 82-year-old man. You can have your opinion and you're entitled to it, but if you're inciting violence or you condone violence, you have no place in a civilized society. You belong in prison with the violent criminals, because we got to figure out a way to make this country better. And hopefully in 2 weeks, some people will be elected to maybe start changing things for the better. And if not, we just got to buckle our seatbelts and just go along for the ride until someday it changes. And that's it. If you haven't already liked this video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share my videos with someone if you will. I'd appreciate that. I hope everybody is healthy and safe, and I'll see you real soon with something else. Have a great night.